especially if you're trying to make a name for yourself locally, like getting out there, saying what's up, just making yourself known in a way. And then like that repetition definitely helps. And just showing your support for the promoter, wherever you are, showing them that you care about what's going on and that you're there supporting and that, hey, I want to DJ too, you know? So it's like a reciprocal kind of a thing.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Headliner Mindset Podcast. Today's guests have been throwing dance music parties in Austin, Texas for more than 15 years. They run a venue called the Concourse Project, which I've had many, many incredible nights at. And they also throw one of the largest techno and house music festivals in the country, Seismic Dance Event. This is Kelly and Andrew from RealMusic Events. Andrew and Kelly, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hola.
Stoked to have you guys here.
Yeah.
Stoked to have you guys here in person. I'm so excited to be able to do more of these interviews like in person. It's so
cool.
different and so fun. So
Yeah,
appreciate you all driving down. I also appreciate you guys for throwing really, really incredible shows here in Austin. I moved to Austin 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Oh, nice.
Spent a lot of time in LA, which is obviously, you know, big,
Right.
crazy, wild scene out there.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out here, I was so pleasantly surprised with how alive and vibrant the dance music scene and culture is. And that's like a huge part because of what you guys are doing with the Concourse Project, with your promotion company. So first off, just thank you for all the fucking awesome nights out. Like I've had so much fun on the dance floor getting down.
Good.
So
Good. Yeah.
appreciate you
Good to
both.
hear.
That's what it's all about.
Hell yeah.
You know,
Hell
it's
yeah.
actually fundamental when people decide where they're moving to, like when that's important to you, you need to check out the scene. So it's actually always cool to hear that from people. Like they choose to move here because of the scene and the types of shows that are here. And otherwise they probably wouldn't come to a place like this.
Yeah. And I was kind of getting out of the music industry for a while. And I actually came here for the coaching scene, like the personal development,
Right.
transformational space. Like the coaching industry is huge in Austin.
Yeah.
It sure is.
And then obviously, you know, live music is big here, but I was really pleasantly just surprised to be like, oh, the scene's kind of popping here too.
No, that's actually a good. Got my brain thinking, but no, that's the coaching thing and stuff, and I think that is a big thing. But music obviously is a big thing that we've worked on for a long time. But now I'm like, those actually would be really good together. There should be more people like talking to more musicians because being a musician and all that stuff
Tying
is
and
very
coaching.
hard. Yeah, and coaching
Yeah.
and stuff like that for people. But anyway,
Yeah, no, 100%. And I know we haven't all really connected yet, so you guys are like deeply. So you guys are probably like,
Right.
who the fuck is this dude that like is asking me to be on their podcast? But
Seen some of your stuff.
it's kind of really what I'm doing is like I worked in the industry for a long time, but I also had just a passion for personal development and was always, you know, like just helping people naturally, and realizing along the way is like navigating this artist journey is hard. It's emotional. It's stressful. The
Very.
business, there's no game plan. There's no like rules.
Right.
there's no strategy book.
Yep.
And just sort of naturally found myself kind of carving out that lane of like, all right, let's bring those worlds together. Really, my two passions together. So it's been a fun thing.
Yeah, it's awesome.
To be a part of.
It's the right timing for that too.
Yeah, we need it. You know,
Yeah.
whether it's someone that's starting off, or also I'm really starting to work more with like bigger artists that they're touring nationally or internationally, and just the stress that comes with that lifestyle.
It's events.
Yeah.
People don't realize. I mean, you can gauge an artist that's traveling all the time. That's really hard.
That's gotta be
Oh,
rough.
you see
I
it.
wouldn't
You-
be able to do it.
You can see it on their face.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like we had was it Don Diablo recently or whatever, and like I mean, last time we had him was so long ago. But one of the things that stuck with me is the last time he came, he was like. You know, he's like, yeah, I want some oranges and like some nuts and like if you get some juice and stuff. And he's like, wellness. Like I don't drink or, you know, do drugs or any of that kind of stuff. He's like, I want to keep myself healthy for like the tour so that I can perform all these shows. Like people need me to be there and be at my top tip form, you know?
Yeah.
And you don't hear that from many artists, I will say. But that's something that stuck with me. And I talked to him about it again when I saw him recently. And he's like, yeah, it's important to me. Like you guys are paying me, people want to see me. Like I want to make sure I can perform to the best, which I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
you know?
and that's what I call the headliner mindset. It's that level of professionalism of saying, hey, this is my career.
Right.
This is my craft. This is something I take seriously. I'm here to show up and be my best. I'm not just here to like, you know, show up and get paid and party. And again, I don't want to demonize party. I just got party. I just got fucking tore up on Threads the other day because I said some shit about it was totally.
What'd you do?
I was telling people, I was like, you guys, like, I was like, for up and coming artists, like, stop getting hammered and popping pills and spending all your money on going out and going to festivals and hanging out with party people.
Unsustainable.
Yeah. And like people thought I meant like don't party and have fun and be on the dance floor. Like, no, fuck yeah, I do that. But especially at that level where you're getting on a plane 8 times, you know, in a week.
Wake
and
up
you're flying.
early, be there at 5 a.m.
The way I break it down is you're like a F1 car, right? If you want to be like really operating at that global touring level, you are the machine. If that machine starts breaking down, whether that's mentally, physically, like you're kind of fucked. And we see it all the time. So it's like, as I'm working with these bigger artists, I'm really like, yo, yeah, exactly. Eat the oranges, like, do the meditation, get some sleep. Cause this is going to be a long month for you as you're not home that whole time. So,
and not to get off base too, but I guess there's a thin line there too with that kind of thing also. Cause I think about that and I think about, let's say, smaller artists that are coming up and stuff. I actually do think it's beneficial for them to go out and meet the promoters, and you don't have to party per se, but be out and like be doing the thing, right? But then there's the flip side of like when you're starting to really come up and starting to pop, you're getting a bunch of gigs and you got a manager or something, or maybe you don't, you're handling it yourself for a little bit. But when you're really starting to travel and stuff more, it's definitely going to behoove you to not get drunk every show.
1,000%. Yeah, not you're getting the gigs, but you're also getting the attention, you're getting the money, you're getting the alcohol, you're getting the drugs. It's like it's all there. So you got to be disciplined. Right. But that was exactly it. That was where it was so misunderstood. All the time, I'm also encouraging artists, get out of the fucking studio and get on the dance floor. Yeah. Like go out and network and meet people. You can't just hibernate in the cave. It's definitely that balance, you know?
Agreed,
So anyways, let's get back to RealMusic Events, the Concourse Project. I'd love to hear about what the roles are that you guys both play and tell me about the company and the venue.
RealMusic Events, we've been doing shows in Austin, building up to like what the scene is now and what allowed us to do the Concourse Project. So that's been going on for 15 years. And it started with Andrew booking the shows because he's a talent buyer, but started as a DJ, which turns into like knowing the artists, always being ahead of the curve with music because he's really tapped in and having taste for that. So he's been booking the artists, still does. The majority of the shows at Concourse are booked by him. We have some external promoters throw in some shows here and there, but the majority is under him. And then like after that, my side of things is more like operational and creative. So I'm the creative director, but I also lead our teams and like work with all of our different managers and all the departments and giving everyone direction, guidance, career growth, making sure we're implementing like processes and all of that and really fine tuning everything we do and getting more and more like just fine tuned in how we operate from beforehand to during the show to afterwards. And it's just a constant grind. And that's what I do.
So what does that team look like? I'm really curious of running a promotion company, running a team. What are the different positions that you have that you're working with?
We also have a partner as well with the Concourse Project. His name is David Brinkley. So we kind of built the place together. Really like him and Kelly are the more creative vision for sure than like I am. I mean, I'm creative, but like they're just more tapped in with like lighting and sound and all that kind of stuff, you know, and that kind of vibe.
You guys own the venue, like the actual physical real estate of it as well?
Well, it's like a long-term lease.
Like
property lease,
Yeah, it's hard to find land that somebody will let you have in Austin.
Yeah, that's what I was
That is on the horizon.
Okay.
Working on it. But yes, there's the three, you know, main owners essentially, and then there's the team, which she helps with a lot of, she can dive into.
Yeah, so we've got like our office team and there's our venue team. Once you bring in like talk about part-time and contractors, I mean, it's like closer to like 100 people involved. But when we talk about like the core team, like the core managers and the people on salary, that's like less than 10. And then there's like each of their departments kind of sprawls with like the part-time assistants and on-site teams and all that. So it kind of starts with, if you think about the whole life cycle of a booking, we have a team member named Emily. She's does all sorts of like business support stuff, but helps with artist advancing. So when he books it, then they have to do like artist advancing and logistics. Then there's the marketing side of things. So we have a marketing coordinator, Dana. We're both heavily involved in the marketing, and she like helps, you know, support that and drive that. And we've got a media team. We do a lot of like multiple people working on video types of assets. We've got multiple sets of graphic designers, not all in-house. You know, there's like different arrangements there. There's our production manager, Alan, and that's a huge thing, obviously. But what we do at the Concourse and Seismic and all that, production is a fundamental part to like what makes our shows pop in.
Putting all the sets together and just the lighting and the visuals.
Just it's not necessarily the sets, but it's like the lighting, like the designs and the teams that operating it and all of that and keeping it fresh. So we always work on that together. Alan facilitates that and manages that department. Then there's our general manager, Greg, who has like risen the ranks from bartender since we opened to bar manager to general manager. And so it's a lot of people growing within the organization. We have a bar manager under him. There's the bartenders, the barbacks, the cleaning crew, security. Yeah, and then our media team grows to like think of like the photographers, the videographers, the recorded sets we do, our social media side of things. There's my dance group, G3 or the Gadgets.
Did you say DJs already?
Obviously, there's the DJs. It's not really part of the team, though.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but there's them too, right?
Yeah.
So.
Part of the team for the night, at least.
Right. And we're all part of the team.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
in terms of making it happen, like that's that side of things.
But it's quite
There's customer support. Yeah, it's a lot.
It's quite the operation.
Yeah, it's crazy too because we still have RealMusic Events, which is like the main like promotion company that we ran for a very long time.
It was just us two.
It was just so most of that we used to just do ourselves. So I actually don't know how we used to get all that done because now I'm like, we definitely have grown. Don't get me wrong, we're not in the same place as we were, but there's sometimes where I'm just like, how did we do that?
Even to this day, it's still insane how much we still like have on our
for sure.
plate.
Because before, just as promoters, it's like the venue is handling all that. They're handling, the
venue opens the doors and they have bartenders, but actually, there was also a period where most of the shows were at a venue that we were partners of. So there was that. But one of the reasons we wanted to find our own venue was so that we could better control the circumstances.
Yeah.
A lot of times if we would use another person's venue or whatever, we would be making it better. We would bring in extra production, bringing in the equipment, aesthetically fixing it to make it a little bit more of a vibe.
Yeah.
So the whole show side of things, we would be at the helm of that. But now at the Concourse Project, there's so much more at scale. So it requires a lot more in terms of the team operations and the on-site stuff and the security and all of that. There's just so much. Since we change our layouts, it's a lot more complex than just a place that opens up and they just staff bars, tenders.
And by you guys really kind of taking control of the whole operation, I feel like you've been able to just add so much more value and so much more to the experience, not have it be dependent on the venue and their team.
Sure.
You guys get to handle everything top to bottom.
Exactly.
I think it's so important for people to also just really understand what it takes and what's actually going on behind the scenes. You just listed a dozen people, or you said even up to 100 people. Depending on
a dozen
it, right?
different roles ish.
Yeah, it is. As they say, teamwork makes the dream work. That's such a thing that most people aren't conscious of, is how much stuff is happening behind the scenes. And it just reminds me of one of the really, really good interview and episode I did was with Bear Grylls, a really good friend of mine, dubstep producer. And, he was just so adamant about as an artist, when you walk in, treat everybody with respect, thank everybody for being there. Everybody is there, working to help put on the show. Right. So treat, the artist hospitality and the security guard. It's dude, come in and recognize that there's a lot of people that are putting in their time and their energy to put this night on. And so really value that and honor that.
Yeah, and it really does matter because it's felt and noticed, because we see the wide range of artists and even just the smallest parts of how they interact with hospo production, or even their teams, how they handle the earlier advanced side of things and marketing side of things. It really impacts your taste for that artist to come back. And sometimes they don't realize it, or people are stuck in that party mindset and they just want to, but it's just chaos, or they're kind of sloppy. You feel that, and your whole team feels an aversion to it, and you don't end up wanting people like that there often. Sometimes it is what it is if they're huge, but the people that are more chill, respectful, all of that, it's so appreciated, and it really does impact things.
And just on a basic human level, fucking be cool.
Exactly.
Be cool with everybody. Be cool with the person giving you your Starbucks order. I just please, make an effort to be a good person and 100%. Put out good energy into the world. But also just thinking from a business perspective, working with a promoter, working with a venue, you got to think long term. I'm not just booking this one show. Hopefully these are people that I develop a relationship with, I develop a partnership with. They might be booking me twice a year for the next 10 years. It's like, it's not just that one show, but even thinking like about the sort of financial, investment in partnership is like, you guys might be making money together for a long time. You show up to that venue, you're not cool, you're disrespectful, you get too fucked up. Like, all right, you just lost actually X amount of dollars over the next, however many years because of that. So, okay, I want to dig in. The big question, how do you get booked? This is what everybody's asking. I want to play this venue someday. I want to play for this promoter, whether, that's you here in Austin or whether that's just in general. I'm curious about, and let's kind of maybe start more at the top of like, even like headliners and stuff. How do you choose who you book? What do you make those decisions off of?
I mean, headliners, like, I definitely kind of base everything on music that, I'm listening to and everything. So being a DJ first, since I've been, in this industry for a while, and I've been DJing since I was, 13, 14, basically. And it's always been like, when we first started throwing shows, it was like, I want to book artists that aren't coming and that, that are people that we like, It's a little different now because I think the music's, and the industry is actually in a whole different place, right? There's a lot of artists now, like a ton, and there's also a lot of bigger artists and all that kind of stuff. But I still, especially when it comes to new artists that we're not already booking, I mean, I want it to be somebody that I like, musically. And then obviously there's the whole thing with like, and the honest truth is, can it move some tickets? I mean, there's been a long time where we book shows that it didn't really matter about the tickets. And I'm not saying that is the end all be all, because we will still book shows even if we're not sure how it's going to do, because we want to bring the artists. Maybe we want to start a new relationship with them. Like, we know they're going to be big, or maybe we feel like they're going to eventually, they're going to get there, Yeah. So we'll still make those jumps, but it's also like, I mean, the truth is the industry is very expensive, and you need to be getting back something, especially with our venue. It's not the cheapest venue to run. I mean, you heard about how many people work for us, right? Yeah. So to pay for that, I mean, you got to be able to bring in some funds, and I'm not saying that every show's got to be a winner, especially if you're trying to be a promoter, because that's just not the truth. It never will be that way. It's just not possible. Some people might say it is, but it's not. And so I just think that, the main thing is definitely musically, like, that we connect with it, that we like it.
Like the production. So it's, you can't just be a DJ at this point. You have to be producing stuff that's getting like attention.
Yeah. And then also, I mean, obviously if it's not a show that RealMusic Events or Seismic is connected to, sometimes we'll bring another artist that we know other people want to see too, right? So if we know, like, people like Stevie Aoki, he's not my favorite, but I also know people do want to see him, so we'll book him, So there's that, and then there's obviously, like, the local piece, which is different. I mean, RealMusic Events wise, we have a lot of our own, like, locals and DJs and stuff that we book. Okay. And it's definitely something I honestly have gotten a little bit further away from because we're just so busy, but I actually had a call today trying to get that back in a little bit better of a place, and maybe trying to find somebody to kind of help with that a little bit. I do think there's a lot of good talent here in town, and I think that Austin has always had more talent than it gets credit for. Yeah. And so I definitely think, trying to get that in a better place is good. And so I definitely like to keep, RealMusic Events people in the mix, but I also like to bring in other people. Kelly might have some suggestions, some of our other friends that maybe work at the office, or a friend has a friend, So we're definitely always listening to that. And definitely, like, we really like, especially family, not family, family of family, friends of family, whatever, that's kind of nice, because it's like, if you trust someone and their musical taste, then they probably know a DJ that's pretty decent, right? Mm-hmm. So then it's like, cool, we'll check that out. And then there's also, obviously, you can email us and message us on platforms and send your mixes. And, yeah, and I definitely think, getting out to the shows, which I mentioned earlier, I think, especially if you're trying to make a name for yourself locally, like getting out there, saying what's up to me or Kelly or whatever, just making yourself known in a way, and then, like, that repetition definitely helps, and just showing your support for what we're doing, or what the promoter, wherever you are, is doing, and showing them that you care about what's going on, and that you're there supporting, and that, hey, I want to DJ too, So it's like a reciprocal kind of a thing,
Yeah, it's something that we talk about a lot on the podcast for sure. Is like, if you want to play at the club, you got to join the club. You got to be a part of the club. Right. You got to join the community, be showing up.
It's also, I mean, people naturally want to support people that support them.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's true. It's networking. That's the whole premise of it too. Yeah. And it's like putting a face to the name. Like, there's a lot of names that are just floating in the ether and in social media land, but repetition, like seeing the name come up multiple times, being able to start associating it with something else, like, oh, a pleasant experience or pleasant conversation. And then it makes you a little bit more inquisitive to, like, want to hear their music and, like, give it a try. And they're like, oh, okay, they play Afro House or this and that. This could work for some of our other shows coming up. And so it starts to plant the seeds, and it can take some time, and it may be frustrating for that other person on the other side of the fence. They also may not be privy to how busy we are and how insane like our lives are. But it's the consistent thread is the repetition, interacting with the brand that you want to be booked by, showing up, like showing face. Yeah, and really just interacting. Like sometimes it's just purely like interacting and seeing that person's name reappear and on our content and our posts, or just being excited about certain shows. And then like I can memorize like a profile picture that I see. I'm like, is that person that reached out that one time about that one table? Like, and then I'm right, you know? So it's like really repetition does wonders.
Yeah, and putting in the work. I mean, honestly, like I hate to say that, but I mean, I just feel like a lot of people think things might just be handed to them, you know, and really like this, it takes some work to get where you're going to go, especially in this industry. I mean, there's so many other people that are putting in work, or that maybe want to do the same thing as you, or producing similar music or whatever, right? I mean, it's not an easy industry, honestly, and you got to put in work, or else you're just not going to make it. You know?
And then not having an air of entitlement, because it's easy to also see that in people at all stages of their career, like especially earlier on, like nothing is grosser than someone being super entitled at that stage. And like it's just even simple ways that one would interact or like ask for things, or just how they carry themselves. If you can tell that they are entitled, or if they're not humble enough, then like it may give you like a distaste for wanting to like support them and have them back. So people don't realize that shows, and like having confidence and all that, but like doing that in a cocky way can have like negative benefits.
Yeah, 1,000%. You know, I look at it as there's the stuff that's on the surface level, which is the tactics. Is like, marketing and networking, and like go out and do these things. But underneath that is like, what's the energy that you're coming from? Right? Are you coming from ego? Are you coming from entitlement, right? Or are you coming from, you know, authenticity and genuine passion and genuine gratitude? It's like you got to be that's the base. Like you got to be
always
in
attracted to that, you know, because that's what we feel that we put into it, and like minds, like minds. And
exactly. Yeah.
And I like that you said as well, as it's a long-term game as well. You know, even with us, it's like I'd kind of run into you guys a couple times, and we said what's up to you in the green room a few times, couple social media bops here and there, and it's like, okay, like now we've, you know, over time now we actually get to sit down and go a little bit deeper. Exactly. So in terms of like let's say I was a local artist, a supporting artist, wanting to just kind of pitch myself. Maybe I didn't know you guys yet. I've just kind of been in the crowd. I haven't actually got to shake the right hands yet. I was gonna maybe, you know, cold call you guys. What do you think is like the best practice for that? What would you actually like to see? Like an EPK, a mix, you know, as far as maybe back to that surface level sort of tactic. What's the best way to reach out, and what do you guys want to see from people?
I mean, it's an interesting question, because I honestly have been thinking about it more and more lately too, because, you know, on a personal level, I found myself wanting to be more like side stage, which makes me a little bit less available to people. And the honest reason is because I do get a lot of people that come up to me and talk and things, and I do want to enjoy the show. I mean, like I said earlier, I
there's
book
time and place.
Yeah, and I book shows because I like the artists, and I usually want to hear them, you know. And it's, you know, I honestly do myself struggle with anxiety and stress a lot and things like that too, you know. So I want people to know that I too have those problems, and I think a lot of people do have social anxiety and stuff, you know. And so I've been thinking about it a lot, because I do want to be accessible to people, and I think that that's what sets us apart from a lot of people in the industry, and kind of like what we've built. And I think a lot of people appreciate that, and honestly, I do appreciate that too. And just trying to, you know, figure out a way where it's easier for people to come up and talk to me, and it's definitely easier to come up to me, and some people do it right, and I think it's more of like, if you're going to come up to me at a show and I'm out there enjoying myself, whatever, like I don't mind.
Don't make it long.
That's what I was going to say. Just don't make it long. Like, cool, say what's up. If I got my earplugs in, I'll take them out. We'll chat real quick.
Totally.
Make it like, hey, I just wanted you to
name,
know. Name. Tell me that you know you play some music, and then you're just wondering what to do, and then like, cool. I'll either give you my number, which I do a lot actually. A lot of people have my number. And then I'll just tell you to email me or whatever. And so like I appreciate that. I do like people to follow up too if you're going to email me and text me, because we are so busy.
he is not the best at checking his that's why I told you. I was like, we're going to need to talk.
You're like, you're like, loop us in and text me.
It's just going to be luck of the draw if he actually opens his message, whether it's on, he's barely on his Instagram messages. So in Facebook messages, we don't even check those regularly because it's flooded. His email inbox is crazy. So it's like,
I brought this up. This came up in I have like a group coaching program and community that I'm building, which is really fun and really rad. And that came up the other day where somebody had reached out to like an artist that they wanted to connect with. And just remember, like, just because someone doesn't get back to you doesn't mean that they don't like you. Doesn't mean that they're telling you to fuck off. Doesn't mean like a lot of times, especially if you're a busy person, you're getting so many messages all the time. Yeah. It's so easy for things to fall through the cracks. Like they might have just not seen it. Even for myself, like I'm really not that busy, but like I'm just getting enough sort of messages where I'm like, oh shit, I didn't notice that message come through, or I totally forgot to hit you back. Like just don't take it personally. This is where some of that like emotional intelligence kind of comes into play. Is like, don't take it personally.
I think if people saw how many texts and phone calls and emails we have,
I've taken screen records and slid scroll through to just get back to like yesterday to like show people like this is what's going on. This is just my text, and like the WhatsApp is a whole other story.
45 people have hit me up since you did.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But back to the other piece, like if you're friends of a friend, like that's easy, and I'll have some closer friends be like, hey, check this guy out, or hey, he wants to play, and that works a lot, which is very easy. Yeah. But kind of back to the repetition thing, like I kind of see it the same way as marketing, right? Like it takes 6 or 7 times for a person to see something before they remember it. So kind of like the same with like, hey, following up, like checking in.
In a not annoying way. Like purely following up can be done without being like rude.
Yes. And so many people are scared of following up. This has come up recently too.
You're not gonna get anywhere without following up.
Yo, I just had
the one time is not good enough.
No, this guy in one of my programs, in my program, I was talking about. We were just celebrating this huge win and this big breakthrough because he's like, you guys, I just got this track signed by this label, but he's like, I sent this to them like a year and a half ago, and I was like, so what did you do after you sent it? Like, did you follow up with them? Yeah. And this was actually, I think, what spurred that conversation. Yeah. He was like, oh yeah, like it like got lost in their email until recently. And I was like, bro, you realize you could have had this shit signed a year ago if you had just had followed up. And as we dug in, there was a little bit of this like, oh, well, I didn't want to be annoying, and it's like, well, no, that's just being professional. Yeah. Follow up. Hey, just following up. Want to know if you got my email. It's as simple as that. Take the emotion out of it. Take the fear out of it. So it goes both ways. There is that you can be annoying. Yeah. Like, hey, did you get my thing? Hey. It's like, all right, you got to chill out.
Question mark.
Oh God, don't do that.
But some people are on the other side. Some people are on the other side where they're making people, putting them on a pedestal and making them bigger than themselves. Where it's like, hey, we're all here being professionals. Yeah. Treat yourself like a professional. Send emails like a professional, follow up like a professional, take the emotion out of it. It's black and white. Either you get back or you don't. All good. Yeah. On to the next one.
Also, if you're going to submit something too, like when we're talking about EPKs and all that kind of stuff, like I like EPK because you can show like, hey, I've opened for these people, blah, blah. I do like that because it's a quick, like I can glance at that and be like.
A little resume.
Yeah, like that's kind of cool. It used to be more I wanted to get a mix from someone, honestly, but I think now
that is still the priority.
I still like that. But I'm thinking like maybe something that's not as long because honestly, like how often do I really have 60 minutes to sit there? And honestly, like what I care about is transitions. And like I've got to actually listen to the whole mix or go,
Just skip through
it. It's hard to skip through the transitions all the time, but you can, but it does take longer, And what I'm saying, but also tracks are nice. If you've got a few really cool tracks, like because I ran a label for a long time, I can also see where there's promise, especially if somebody can make some really good tracks. Like several people that play for us now, they sent me a couple tracks. And I was like, these are cool. Like, or at least I know that they're getting somewhere, and then I could check out the mix real quick and be like, okay, I think they have promise. We're also not like in the place where like I don't want people to think they can't learn more or learn from us and do get better at something. You don't have to start from being amazing, because it does take some time to kind of get your footing sometimes,
So like tracks are really important for like the headliners and all that, or the higher opening spots, like the direct support and stuff like that. Like you'll probably reach direct support sooner if you're producing stuff because it's like you're doing like a little bit more. But I wouldn't say that you have to produce to be a DJ, especially on a local level, because if you can produce, it doesn't mean you can DJ, and like that's important. We don't only want the producers, but we actually prefer and respect people that can DJ very well. Yeah. And so like it has always been like SoundCloud, like we would ask for like a live set because that's even more important than a mix because like you can use Ableton and like clean things up. But if it's like a live recording, which not everyone has, you can better hear how they're truly going to play live. So it has historically always been that, and that hasn't changed. It is nice and helpful because it's an added boost if you have like production tracks, because then it shows a little bit more seasonality or whatever. Like
Yeah.
you're more seasoned, you can do more if you have tracks, and that's cool. And then he wants to help support that person more, but it doesn't, you don't have to have those.
No, for sure.
And in terms of where to submit that, you got to get creative. So if you haven't gotten like the direct contacts, because even his texts, he barely gets back to all of those. It's like shooting us an email at the info at Concourse, or the bookings at concourseproject.com, the personal, being in the DMs, because sometimes it's easier. Like if someone messages like the business account, like RealMusic or Concourse or Seismic, as well as our individual, you're increasing the chances that we're going to see that. And then like sometimes those links are just handier in a DM. You're seeing like their profile picture. You can start to associate the name with the face, and you might realize you already recognize this person.
Yeah.
And then you can easily see like their set links and all of that. And it's nice in one nice spot.
Yeah.
And the email, we do direct people there a lot, but I will say that just accumulates and it's just a bunch of text, right? So it's like we might have someone transfer that to like this spreadsheet where we have it, but we don't always go in there. And a lot of times when we're booking locals, whether he does it or I pitch in and do it, like we're going off of memory, the people that come to mind as a good fit, like stylistically. And like sometimes in those DMs, when people start reaching out or you start to see their stuff, you file that in your brain. It's like when we have another drum and bass show coming up, like let's maybe give this person a chance because they're actually producing some stuff and doing some cool shit. So that's kind of how it works. And it takes that repetition and following up and trying and not being annoying, but not letting it just fall to the wayside as well.
Like someone recently that we're probably going to give a shot to soon. Like I checked out his stuff and it was just like just kind of a random thing where the name had come up. I'm not going to drop the name, but the name had come up because it's a similar name to somebody who works for us. And then all of a sudden I heard the person's name from a friend, and then Kelly said, and then a couple the name just popped up like 3 or 4 times in like a week. And I was like, okay, who is this person? Like, let's, just check his stuff out,
For sure. Yeah. I think that I see a lot of people, younger artists especially, that are at that threshold of really just putting themselves out there and kind of being scared to put themselves out there, or holding back from putting themselves out there. And, back to this idea of like, it's that 3rd, 4th, 5th time you hear somebody's name or you see them pop up, that's where it starts to really resonate. So the more you're putting yourself out there, the more chances you have of somebody seeing your stuff, right? So whatever that little fear, that little limiting block is, that's maybe still stopping you from putting your music out or posting content, that's a huge thing that you got to get over. You got to put yourself out there.
There's another one that I remember.
And shoot your shot.
For sure. Definitely shoot your shot and don't give up.
And don't give up,
for us, a lot of times we're adding the locals and the opening slots like later than we used to, just because we're so busy. It's hard to like, just whatever. It happens closer to the show these days. Yeah. But what we always tell people when they're like saying that they're interested in playing, it's like, if you see a show that gets announced, like let us know, like message us and say like, hey, basically raise your hand that's a show that stylistically works for you and that you think that would be good, like for you to open, and you remember those things, and it might come up, and then you're like, all right, it's time to book it, and then you might revert back to that person who planted that seed. And so it's not only just submitting yourself just to be, it's also like getting specific, like seeing a show that works and makes sense, and then like raising your hand for each of those.
And I feel like more people have been doing that lately, and I do kind of like that because they'll call it out in the email, and I check my email a lot. I mean, because my life kind of revolves around my email, and so I kind of like seeing that. Like somebody will be like opening for Gorgon City or something, like I'll check that because I'm like, who is this person? And then maybe they'll hit me a couple more times. I'm starting to get familiar with their name and stuff too. So I like that. But also one of the biggest things, just because it's from the realm that like I came from, and same thing with like dancing and stuff too, is we really like when people hit us up to promote for us and stuff, because hey, they want to just come to shows. Like I'm already coming to these shows. Like I wouldn't mind like telling my friends about it, kind of help promote you guys, blah, blah. Yeah. And like we are kind of like a family, so more and more people that we see, they're out all the time, whatever, they can get familiar with us. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, by the way, I DJ, like somebody that we have doing a bunch of video stuff actually recently was like, hey, like, can I give you a mix? I was like, cool, I didn't know you DJ'd. So it was like, it's just because you be able to rapport with these people. They're kind of promoting with you. They're at the shows. They're part of like your world now, right? And then, hey, by the way, also I DJ, or hey, by the way, maybe I dance, or whatever. They have some other artistic thing that they do that they want to start delving into with us. Yeah. That's a very easy way to
That's like the roots of the dance music scene. So things are very more a little commercialized and normal and mainstream these days compared to what it used to be. But like our roots, both of us as individuals and artists, as well as Alan, our production manager, and a few select folks have been around in the Austin scene since it was way smaller, like earlier 2000s and all that. And it starts with like promoting, especially then it was like we're flyering. And so like helping the entity that's producing the shows, like flyering and just being a part of that. It's nice because you start becoming a community, you start getting connected with people, and then you guys get booked as DJs or as dancers or performers, etc. And so like just being a part of it and wanting to help that mission also helps breed more opportunity for you too.
Yeah, and especially now, like where we are with Concourse Project, I mean, there are a lot more opportunities now than we've ever had in our history, right? So it's really nice to like have more friends and people around you that can do other things, and like you're going to work together in more avenues, and hopefully that keeps building, right?
Yeah.
But it's a nice way to kind of get in there, I think so.
Be a part of the scene, be a part of the community, find a way to add value to contribute to the culture, right? Like there's so many different ways to do it. What are other things that you can bring to the table? Promoting being one of them. So good and so important, something I continue to, encourage artists to do as well. Is like go and get involved,
right.
know?
And even beyond just like musical artists, like a lot of people they don't DJ or whatever, but they would love, like, it'd be their dream job to have their career be within this like music industry. And so a lot of people like will say like, if you guys ever need marketing like help, like I do this and this, or I do paid search ads or whatever, or hey, I've got this experience or this degree and blah blah blah, that's actually very useful. And we were saying this recently that we're both in like talent acquisition. Like he focuses on like music artists, which I like that as well, but I spend a lot of my time focusing on like talent acquisition and finding like opportunities in our business and matching that to the people's skill sets, whether they're already in our organization or they're surrounding it. And we always prefer to tap into someone that is passionate and cares and knowledgeable about this like scene, because otherwise it's not authentic, and authenticity is huge to us, and we wouldn't be the brand that we are if that wasn't fundamental to what we do. So you have to, in every other nook and cranny of the business, have people that also embody that like vision and passion. And so I always say, like, you could think of like graphic designers and marketing or social media as being like such popular roles that span across all types of things, right? Like you can go down the street and see someone that's, I have a marketing degree, or I do this. And it doesn't mean that they can fit into this puzzle at all, because they can't market the artists, and if they don't know like the different dance music genres or the sounds, or have any, if it's just whatever to them that they don't know, and it's not going to work for you. So other people can plant that seed too, in the same way that the DJs can. And like whether it happens then or later down the road, like someone like me might match that opportunity to like what we could use.
And it's such a great reason also for artists to get involved in, your local club, your local venue, because of how much you'll learn by being on the back end. And I've talked to so many artists before about how they understand how the business works. They know how to sell tickets. Now they're touring. They understand the promoter game, because they started off handing out flyers. They started off working at the venue, helping with it. So not only is it a great way to, get in with your local club, maybe start getting some opening slots, but you're going to see how the business works and have a completely different just perspective and mindset than, say, somebody that just only lived in the studio and just maybe never really played before until they actually, start getting out there. Back to like, Bear Grylls was like a promoter. He ran a blog. He did every single thing in the industry, and that's why he was able to be really successful with his artist project. Bijou was another great guest that I had as well, where he was just like, first tour he ever did before he got an agent, and really great episode to go back and listen to. One of my favorite ones. He's like, I came up as a promoter. I came up handing out flyers in the fucking parking lot, selling tickets to, for my shows and the ones that I was doing, so that when I was trying to get an agent, nobody was really fucking with me. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go book my own tour, and went out and like applied what he learned about throwing shows and promoting shows, booked his own tour. And the minute he announced it, put up a little flyer, agents called him literally the next day, so that back to that kind of like headliner mindset, learn as much as you can about the business, get involved as much as you can. And obviously there's a balance. You also got to be in the studio making music. I've sometimes had to pull people aside and be like, yo, I see you're doing so much outside of the space, but like, how's your music coming along? Have you made any tracks yet? Like, let's finding that balance for sure.
Yeah. I mean, so many people have gotten their opportunity from just getting their foot in the door in so many different places. Like high ranking people on our team have grown from like entry level positions or starting as a promoter, then they're working the merch booth, then they're doing this and that, and then all of a sudden they're like one of the top managers of the whole organization years later. And
you got to start somewhere.
Do security, and they're just watching a door, and then they want to start helping as an extra hand because they'll just see things that need help, and someone's like, do you want me to help you with that? And I'm like, yeah. You remember those people that are a little bit extra helpful. And then that person is helping as a stage hand later for helping production and getting to do a little bit more cool, interesting things. And then like, oh, you DJ and you want to play the show, then they get booked as a DJ too. And there is camaraderie and getting more involved in the background, but it's also knowledge is power. So the more you know about the inner workings of things, it's like you know more about the industry and what you're trying to do, and you can pivot from it more easily.
Yeah. And back to being like a good person, being helpful, having that kind of attitude. Like we want our friends to win. We want the people that like we love and care about to win. So yeah, huge.
There's definitely a lot of not cool people in the industry also.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild. Like I forgot, like I had kind of like stepped out for a while where I was like, when I got into coaching, I was just kind of, I don't know, I kind of thought that was my exit out of the music industry, and then had this really clear just like insight that this was the community that I'm kind of called to serve. And as I've been like getting back and navigating through it, I'm like, oh yeah, bumping up against some of the just the ego, the inevitable ego that comes with it. And I will say like Austin is so
much
cool.
better.
Yeah, like coming from LA, where it's just
it.
like there's so much
Too much of that.
There's so much fucking heavy energy in the industry in general, and just like there's so much ego, and I don't know. It's like I had my moment of wanting to really step out of it, but I feel really called to be like, we need more people with like good vibes and good energy that are going to bring that to the scene, you know. And so
we've always felt that way too, and like part of why we've been passionate about building the scene here in Austin was because the people in Austin, like whether they're in the scene or not, it's just a different breed. It's something that we've always, it's changing obviously because there's an influx of a lot of people, but it's still fundamentally there. Like a generally more down to earth, like chill, good humored type of person. And even if you go traveling, whether it's to LA or San Francisco or New York or to a different country, like even your like restaurant experiences are vastly different. Like servers here, doesn't matter where you go, whether it's high end or some just chill place, like the servers are way more like conversational and relaxed and all
Southern
of that.
hospitality.
And you go elsewhere and it's like you don't see anyone, they walk up, they're like, "Are you ready?"
Yeah.
And it's just and that is symbolic of like the entertainment and nightlife industry here too. Yeah. So it's the people they're more passionate, they're more just chill. And you go to some of like the big cool shows in other markets or around the world, and it's like it can be cool and it can vary, but more often than not, it's a colder energy. Everyone's more in their own world. There's a lot more like superficiality and ego and all of that, and it's not as prevalent here. And so we've always been passionate about wanting that to prevail and for people to come see what that's like here, and people can feel it. So
I was just going to say, it's felt. It's totally felt. And it is like that's what we would call like the collective consciousness, you know? It's like you can kind of go to a city and just kind of, you can feel the energy of the city. Like you go to New York and you get off the subway, like you can feel the energetic vibration of that place and the energy that comes with it. And you know, Austin in general, I think has its own energy, but then also within the scene, it's, I think we're doing a pretty good job over here.
I think the vibe here, I mean, she's already said, but I mean, I think the vibe here is like, you know, unmatched in our eyes, and that's kind of why we've spent so much time and effort on it here. Is I just think that you know, because of the people and the energy and the vibe, you know, it's like it's a whole different thing. I mean, I think when a lot of artists and people come here, they're like blown away with like how music knowledgeable everyone is here, and also just like how great the parties are because they're just
it's just
vibes.
Vibes. It's vibes, baby. So let's talking about parties. You guys throw Seismic Dance Event every year, right? Tell me about Seismic. I haven't been actually to the main one yet. I went to the spring edition that you guys do, which is kind of I'll be there. I'll be there this year for sure. This year, I'm still pretty new here. You know, I just missed last year, whatever. But I'll be back. Let me off the hook, okay? But tell me about Seismic. Like, what is Seismic all about, and what's the vision behind that?
Yeah, I was actually going to say that vibe that you can feel. It's like on steroids at Seismic. It's like super like-minded folk, and the people that travel, they're traveling because they're also part of that like collective energy and all of that. And you can see and feel it even more so at Seismic because it's a house and techno festival. So it's a like genre-specific festival, which we find like makes people even more finely in tune with each other versus like something that's there's something good to be said about multi-genre, like cross-genre mainstream festivals and all that. Wonderful. But when you get more narrowed in and dialed in, like you get even more like-minded people, and that's always a fun aspect of Seismic. But it's our festival. We've been doing it since 2018. It's usually like 3 days, like 3 stages.
Am I allowed to wear white there, or
You
would
can
I?
do
would I-
whatever
would you
you
guys let
want,
me
but there's
in?
a lot of black.
They
Yeah.
sometimes have white shirts you can buy.
Yeah. I like to fuck with black and white, you know.
A beige here and there.
Yeah.
Some other ideas she's got.
Black and gold, black and white.
You do the merch design,
Yes.
right? For
Design and or direction.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, the shirts that you guys made for the Seismic Spring were just epic.
Yeah, and that's a
Yeah.
whole another avenue. I actually left that whole department off when I was talking about the different facets of what we do, and putting a lot more focus there for our Concourse stuff and just year-round things, and more like streetwear and lifestyle type of clothing versus like your stereotypical event merch. So that's a fun aspect. But ultimately, Seismic, our slogan is it's a lifestyle, because it really is, and it brings people who live and breathe that lifestyle. So musically, it's really dope. There's usually like 60 plus artists playing, tons of headliners, international headliners, and then like regional acts as well. We've got performers and art, and the merch game is hot. So
Yeah.
it's cool.
Yeah, come out. It's definitely, if you are a techno fan, house, deeper sounds of house music, come to Austin. Come experience Austin. Come dip your toes in the water, get some good barbecue, check out this fucking epic music festival. It would be worth the trip for sure.
And every year is getting
We top each
bigger,
other.
and and that's obviously the goal, right? But I think this year's going to be really strong. Like I'm happy with where the lineup wound up. I mean, every year like we said, try to top ourselves. But every year I'm trying to top myself as a talent buyer too, and it's getting very hard to top myself. But I mean, I think pull it off every year, and I think we're going to be announcing the phase 2 here soon. It's not a ton more acts, but a couple big ones that I wanted on phase 1 that didn't get to land, and I think it's going to be pretty epic.
Ultimately, like we started Seismic because we always did our normal shows, and we grew to where we could do our own like festival brand. And so this is we've got our venue and regular shows and then festival. Yeah. So if you think production at the Concourse Project, I don't know when it is really dope, it is. I feel like a lot of that actually stemmed from us doing Seismic. So when we found the building that we turned into the Concourse Project, like it was in our pursuit to find a new home for our regular shows, but also for our festival. Because our second edition was at the Statesman, and then we weren't going to use that anymore. And so like our volcano stage is an inside warehouse kind of concept, and then there's outside. And so we saw that property in this new construction that hadn't been completed, and with the vision of that being for Seismic. So us starting to do like really crazy world-class production at the Concourse kind of pivoted from us starting to achieve that as a festival and starting to play with those kinds of toys. And so now like our regular shows are really crazy, and we keep upping our inventory and getting like buying stuff, and we've got more shit coming in October. Actually, big things coming in September and October.
Big things coming.
But then we have to top all of that. So it gets even crazier for the festival, because we bring in even more stuff, and we add to the inside, and we change the designs, and then we do stuff outside. So
Never ends.
it's our ability to really flex. And so if you think what we do is cool on a normal basis, like that is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you guys, like, what's the vision for the future? Where do you kind of see things going? But what I really hear is like this drive and motivation to just continue to like outdo yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
to keep setting the bar, whether that's on the lineup and the talent, or whether that's on the production and the experience. And just what a great mindset to have just in life in general. Just continue to get better.
Right.
Yeah.
Continue to push the boundaries, continue to outdo yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely the plan. I mean, honestly, like if you think about it, really, I mean, I never thought we would be where we are now. I mean, we always wanted to be, right, but we're always working on something, working towards something, and I mean, this was the goal for sure. But you just never know, and all the things you have to go through, especially in our world and the festival and stuff. I mean, it's a hard game to be in, and I think a lot of people can't do it, and I definitely know why.
Yeah.
It's for you guys.
I love that you bring this up. You guys, like you said, this was the dream, right? There was this little seed of a vision of maybe what we could possibly do someday. I think very similar to a lot of artists that are out there, like someday I'd love to be maybe playing that festival, or I'd love to have this reality that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
But I know there's something inside of me that knows that I can do it. Even if my self-doubt is screaming at me, there's still at least a kernel of hope and vision that believes that I can create this reality because I see other people doing it.
Yeah.
Right? You guys have done it. What would you say has really contributed for you guys to be able to actually make that vision a reality?
There's multiple things here. So it's like feeling that kernel and wanting to live a life where you're not gonna have the what ifs about like your aspirations, your talent, your passion. And like you said earlier about like your calling and you could feel it and all of that. This is my place and this is where I need to do things. Like it's listening to that side of yourself too. Like what makes you passionate? What do you just really want to contribute more to? And it was like that for both of us, and it has continued to be that way for both of us since our earlier days. And to his point, we never said back then, like, this is what my end goal is. Like, it's been fluid and it's just evolved because you work on just topping yourself and like, oh, now that I've done this, I can actually do this. And like, it just grows and it branches out. So we knew and we could feel that like we were going to do something and we were doing something. And it's like, come along for the ride is what we would say to people that would like join our team and all of that. Cause like, I know me and I know him and like, we're not stopping and we're determined and we're determined to figure out what it is we're doing, but we're going to keep growing what we have here. And it is special. So it's like knowing those opportunities and things that you have in your life that really have that spark for you and listening to it and then figuring out how to like evolve it and grow it and make it more beautiful and tap in others into that dream. And I don't know, just keep seeing like what new avenue you can take on that makes sense without biting off too much. We do bite off too much,
we do.
But also within like the bounds that we can.
And it's like, I mean, you know, we kind of, especially when we first started this path, I mean, it was in, you know, technically even before 2009, but when we started going on down the path of like doing more shows 2009 and the things that we're doing now did not exist then. I mean, we really have kind of created, I don't want to say we created the market because the market was there, but I mean, we've definitely taken it to a whole different level that didn't exist.
Particularly where we are.
Yeah, and we definitely kept doing things that like no one else was doing, and it was like, all right, well, we're going to try this. And I'm not saying there weren't hardships because there's been a bunch, and it's definitely been a hard ass road. Like, I mean, I think it's like, yeah, definitely not giving up, right? But also, you know, if you do have that kernel or seed or whatever, you know, obviously it's the passion that's going to get you there, and obviously you just got to keep going. I mean, you know, I hate to keep driving this home, but there's definitely a lot of times that we thought we were done or this was over and that we wouldn't be sitting here right now, you know? So it's just, you know, if you've got that passion, that drive, and it's something you really care about, like you should just try to do it, you know? I mean,
it's like find the spark, listen to your gut. Because if it starts to not be working, like at a certain point, like you'll know, like, I think this is just a setback, but like I'm going to keep going. But if you're in a place where maybe you're not that good at what you're doing or something, I don't know, like listen, find your strengths and what does make sense and listen to your lessons. But just having the motivation to keep going and pushing forward and making use of those lessons, but also finding what makes you different and what makes you unique. Because as things grow and evolve, industries are cluttered and social media and all of that is cluttered. So like what makes you different than everyone else in what you're doing? So if you know like where there's a hole or a gap or a business opportunity in the industry or where you are locally, then like focus on that if it's something that resonates with you. So like you got to have your spin that makes you unique. Don't just be trying to go down the same road as everyone else without anything like unique.
Yeah. Well, I'll wrap this up with where we started. Thank you both. Thank you both for coming down here to hang out, to chat, to do this episode with me. But thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for creating the space, for growing the scene here, for you know, bringing the fucking party to Austin. and thank you for not quitting. Thank you for continuing to persevere even in the face of those challenges. You know, I think that actually really is that is leadership, right? Knowing that like, hey, we're not just doing this for us. We're not just doing this because of, you know, what we get out of it and what we can profit, but like just to think about how many tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people at this point that have been able to come into a space that you created to have a good time, to make new friends. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, for sure, that's what's up. And
that's what it's about, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, so
touching people.
Yeah.
You
can take that part out.
Yeah. No, you guys rock. Thank you so much for coming through.
Yeah, we could talk forever if you want to just.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.